Good afternoon, good evening, welcome in everyone. My name is Brian, aka Ginger Prime, and today is New World's birthday. I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes to kind of settle in to the live stream. We will be live reacting to everything that they have just posted. This is an hour and 22-minute dev update. This is a monster of a post, so hopefully you guys are as excited as I am. We'll be discussing it. We're going to be having so much absolute fun with this. So welcome in everybody. I hope that you are having a wonderful day. If you are here live or if you're watching this in the archive, be sure to hit that like button, as it's a fantastic way to support these live streams. If you guys feel like going above and beyond, just like Anthony has, who's in chat right now. Anthony, we have the $1 membership. We're trying to get to right now 200 dollar members. We are currently 128, so we'll see if we're able to continue to itch on up, get on up on grabbing those on grabbing those members. We are making exclusive member only content. Dude, I am so excited. Casual says literally boarding a flight to Dallas right now. Dude, Casual, hit me up on Discord, man. Maybe we'll be able to get together, get a drink or something if you're going to be in town. I know we got a lot of people being impacted by the hurricane, so obviously thoughts and prayers for everybody out there in Florida. We actually have to delay the our Forced Gaming podcast because of the hurricane, so we're going to be doing that here in a little bit. Welcome in everybody, welcome in. I'm going to give you guys just a few minutes to kind of ease your way into the stream before we jump in to this monster show for you guys today. So welcome in everybody. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I hope that your preparation has been going well. I don't know, do I have the New World command set up on this one? Let me find out. New World, let's see if it's set up or not, because I do have the New World Ginger World Gaming channel where I've been posting all my news, all the guides, all the cool daily bits, the 2-minute videos all the way up to I think 18 maybe is the record right now. So howdy Chris, what's going on? Words Myth. Yeah, we're gonna be doing this live. We're gonna be live reacting. In fact, actually, let's get some love in here. I'm gonna bring up the avatars, so we should get those guys rocking and rolling on stream as well. Give it a little bit of flair, a little bit of energy. Me on. Yeah, be good, everyone. Safe travels there on your flight, Jason. Yeah, hopefully everybody's doing well. This is New World's 1-year anniversary, guys. Happy birthday to a year of this game being out, having its launch, having its challenges, having this resurgence where players are eagerly waiting to check it all out again, maybe for the first time as well. So it's going to be a great one. I love seeing so many green name tags in chat, by the way, for these things. So thanks guys for coming in. Thanks guys for being here. Hopefully y'all are having a good day. I think we've given it a little bit. How long has this been? How long have I technically been live? Okay, we've been live for almost 5 minutes. I think that's a good enough time to get this thing kicked off and going. So we're going to have a good old time. The avatars are here. So if you guys are a member, you will see your avatar walking around on screen, and there's a couple things y'all can do. Let's see if the mass bomb command is working over here. Mass bomb. I don't know if that works over here on YouTube, but we'll find out as well. What's going on, Stoic? What's going on, Brad? What's going on, Ty? How are y'all doing today? Excellent. We have success. If you guys wanted to ever do anything like that, kind of throw off the different avatars, you can always use that command as well. All right, cool. So I'm gonna lower down the music, and I'm gonna make an old mental note that at 5 minutes that's when we kick this thing off into high gear. Let's raise up the volume and make sure you guys can hear everything okay. So I don't want y'all to be cut off from any sound there. What's going on, Kyle?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the New World September update,
Woohoo!
which also happens to be the 1-year birthday for Eternal.
Happy birthday!
It's been a really long road this year. It feels like a lot longer than that to a lot of us. It's been exciting. We've had some hurdles, but overall, it's been great. And we just want to take a moment to thank the players for helping us get here. Working together as partners, it's been an excellent experience, and the team and game have gotten better for it, so thank you.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a different kind of MMO, and it's really important for us to live off of player feedback. So those of you who have stuck with us and supported us, tremendous thanks there. Also the people who gave us criticisms. All of that makes us better, If you haven't been playing for a while, I encourage you to check out the game now and
Yes.
see all the changes that we made in the last year.
Absolutely.
We're going to have a summary of them here, but you'll also find the game's just very different.
Next ones we want to just give a quick shout out to is the team, the dedication and effort put into making the game better. It's just been awe-inspiring and amazing, and I just want to say a big thank you to everybody involved in that.
I echo
The
that
dev team, it's been
100%.
And for the team at Greater Amazon, we owe them a ton. Christoph Hartman, who runs Amazon Games, Jeff Blackburn with GME. Amazon's been incredibly supportive of trying to do this the right way, do the right thing, support the customers, support the players. They've given us time and the ability to hone the game with your feedback, and that's a great environment to make a good game.
You know, and the dev team's not just everyone who works for Amazon. We have a bunch of co-dev partners that I'd like to just call out. You know, Ridiculous Games, Blind Squirrel, ManaWorks, Lost Boys, Robotic Arms, Secret Society Games, Climax, Certain Affinity, Virtuos, Layer. So many different groups are involved, and they've helped us get to where we are. That's one of the reasons you're seeing so much content come out through the team.
Yeah,
Also,
a lot
I
of
hope that
content.
when people hear the team here, they understand that that's much more than just the dev team. There's a publishing group that helps us out constantly, marketing, community, customer service, QA, things like IT that we need to be able to run the machines. There's a huge support group that helps the team be the best team it can be to deliver you features.
So yeah, so thanks to everybody. It's really exciting being here at the 1 year mark. Today's show is going to be a little different. We're not going to have one host the whole way. There's going to be a lot of deep dives on different parts of the game, but we're going to start with our 1 year takeaways. So with that, let's get the show going.
All right. Woo! Why, hello. And thanks, guys, for
All
the
right,
17
we're ready
likes,
to
by
talk
the way.
about some takeaways from year one. Joined by a few people today. We have Dave Verfai, who's the creative director.
Get my water.
Drew Higbee, our senior product manager. And Katie Kaczynski, our live lead senior producer. So, you know, when thinking about how we talked about, you know, takeaways from the first year, there's something we do at work called stop, start, continue. And it's things we want to stop doing, things we want to start doing, and things we want to keep doing. I thought it'd be fun to talk about it in that sense. So what's going to
interesting.
happen is I kind of wrote down the things, and we're just going to throw them out on the table and talk about them. Of course, because we're game developers, we want to start with things we want to stop doing. So first thing we want to stop doing is taking 2 steps forward and 1 step backward. And what I mean by that is we bust our team just busts our butts to get these releases out and make them really big and everything players want. And then we make a mistake that kind of takes away all of the goodness that we've added. So going forward, we're going to probably do a little less, but try to do it at a much higher quality and make sure our releases are even better.
Yes,
And part of
absolutely,
that
100%.
starts with PTR, getting things out there earlier, and again, listening to the feedback and making sure that we're making the release as good as possible.
Like personally on that note, to dive in is what I want to see is if you start to think about how we've kind of gotten these updates ish around every kind of, first it was like once a month and then they kind of gone into the every other month. It's like, honestly, if they had a big release every 3 months, I think that'd be absolutely ecstatic, where you have a bigger release, you have more content put into that, but then that gives them more time on the PTR to kind of get our feedback, take that and actually apply it. And that would be absolutely, I think, the best thing and the best way forward.
I think that we've already started the stop of that, right? So in the beginning of the year and late 2021, we were releasing content every month. And it was very obvious to players and ourselves that it just wasn't up to the quality bar. And so in the beginning of this year, we started adjusting to every other month and then just fixing bugs in the middle. And that was a recipe for success, but we still weren't quite hitting the bar that we wanted to hit. And I know that players expect from us. So we've continued to kind of elongate that time between content releases, which is, you know, a positive and a negative, because we want to keep giving them content as quick as possible. But at the same time, we really need it to be hitting a very high quality bar. So
on that, like in terms of kind of a 3-month cycle, you know, or if they do extend it, the thing that helps offset that is communication, right? So it's like, hey, this is what we're working on, and then establishing that content, that delivery with quality. Then all of a sudden, it's like that gives you a lot of excitement and gets you then hyped up for the next big update, where then you have, you know, that level of communication, you have PTR, you have testing, you have feedback. All in all, I think that ends up being roughly the right kind of strategy, personally speaking, from my perspective. You go a little bit longer than that, and then you give a lot more opportunity for burnout. And so it seems to me like the 3-month patch, like if you think of kind of a major update cycle, is the right way to go about it. Now, will we learn about more? Then, what's if there's a bigger cycle, whether it's a yearly expansion or an every other year expansion, or if they just go to the New World route and the game just constantly gets better with somewhat bigger updates and somewhat, smaller updates. Maybe we'll find out today. I hope we go. I kind of personally am rooting for the expansion model. You guys can let me know what you guys think in chat. Where you fall. Do you want to go new a No Man's Sky route, or do you want to go like expansion route? There's no wrong options, no wrong choices in this matter.
We're definitely stopping and continuing to start.
Yeah, it's kind of a both.
It's all of it. Yeah, exactly.
Next one is stop the grind. So, New World it's changed a lot, right? We were a very different game 2.5, 3 years ago than we are now, and we've heard the feedback, and it's really important that we respond in a good way. And I think we've had some efforts toward that. Wouldn't you say, Dave?
Yeah, I think it's grind and also the friction of playing a little bit. In terms of the grind, like you remember how long it used to take to get to level 60 when the game started? Now with the RSC and some of the speed ups we've done, it's a much quicker progress. And what I like about it is it matches the content, right? Like, so as you quest, you naturally level up now and you go to the places you're at the right level. You don't have to do extra activities. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we're leaning into the storytelling and the setting clearer goals for players. We're still going to have a lot of that sandbox support, like open feeling gameplay, but we're also going to make sure we complement it with more directed gameplay.
Yeah.
Say it with me, Sand Park.
Huge improvements there, right?
Let's go, chat. Sand Park.
My biggest one is global storage, right? Like now I can access my stuff from any town from one storage center, so it's huge.
I don't know. I'm playing in the PTR right now, and when I craft 40 of any item, it's a lot better than it was just a few weeks ago. I can't wait to get that out for everybody.
Absolutely true, and I mean, not the least of which, fast travel, linked storage chests, as Dave mentioned. Just a lot of reduced friction in the game.
Let's not,
yes.
let's not forget
Huge
that
friction
one.
reduction for players hopping in. Group Finder, being able to hop into groups together easier. Lots of improvements.
Oh, my favorite.
What they just hit on here is really important for me. I want to take a moment to kind of like dive into it. First and foremost, like when it comes down to it, when we look at New World, they lean into and speak of, theme park, but really where he just said they don't want to abandon the sandbox and really bring in that and kind of highlight that for players who want it. Like, let's get to the terminology. Let's call these games sand parks. Let's make a new tier MMORPG that leads us into the future for this genre. That's what I want to see. I think that would be where we can go from here in the best possible way. I think that is where this MMORPG shines. And the fact that also like Ashes of Creation is using that moniker, that's where I want to see the genre move into. The theme park, because it helps curate the experience. It gives you something that gives you that goal. So you don't have to come into a game and try to come up with your own goals, but then at the same time, sandbox. So that like as you run out of curated content, as you want to experiment with the game itself, there's this beautiful sandbox that you can play in, experiment. And I think you want to have both, and that becomes probably very challenging. That becomes very hard. That's probably why you've seen New World struggle, but I would love to see them adopt the moniker Sand Park MMORPG as opposed to theme park or sandbox MMORPG. You guys can let me know where you guys fall on that. I'd be very curious. But yeah, welcome in everybody. Hey Vinny, hey Ty, hey Words. What's going on, Noob Fridge? Great name, by the way. Dr. Mock, welcome in. Guys, thanks so much for the 25 likes. It's a great way of helping this stream out. And if you have to dip out, lurking, and I guess what I'm being told is the longer the average view duration of these streams are, the better that the YouTube recommendation engine is. It's a weird world over here on YouTube, but I'm glad you're over here with me. Let's continue on.
Inventory while running.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, inventory while moving.
That one's kind of fun because I think we mentioned this before in a different video, but if you look back at our roadmap and our plans, inventory while running was not actually supposed to come out as soon as it did, but we heard players in that one, and we realized that that was an area of opportunity that we could pull in that work and try to get that done sooner.
Yeah.
And it was a huge impact on people. So
Yeah.
that was awesome, and we want more of that. We want to be able to do more of that.
I mean, all of that, that basically everything we did in our reduced friction initiative was from the players. Like this was all stuff we had on lists and we wanted to get to, but it came through really clearly that you wanted us to get to this now, so we did.
Yeah.
Another stop is being behind the queue issue, and I don't, no pun intended there, but we've, we haven't reacted fast enough or anticipated properly when large groups were coming in, and it's created some queue issues, and it's something that going forward we're gonna do our best to improve at that.
Yeah, we have some plans that are currently, design is done, but we're currently looking at implementation that's going to help folks move to their desired world really quickly. And that's what we need to do to get rid of the queues.
Yes.
Anybody who was here in the first weeks of September knows that we had some queues from returning players and some new players. And the response that we had to that versus the response we had at launch queues is night and day. Right? So within a day and a half, queues on most worlds had gone down, and it's kind of an elegant locking and unlocking solution along with opening worlds as worlds become full so that we can make sure that
They're
there's
talking about
even
just like
distribution
guesting
versus just
or something?
being like, here's 100 worlds, have at it. And then after player lands on a world when they first start, then they can transfer somewhere else if they feel like they want to. But this is how we're addressing the queue situation, because we definitely do not want another launch situation.
But we're okay with queues, a little bit of queue time also, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we just don't want it to be an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I don't want it to be 30 minutes. I would like to make it as
5-10 minute
low
queue's
as
fine.
possible, but I and other players, we associate queues with this world as poppin', right? It just can't be a long time in the queue because I want to actually play.
Yeah.
I think 5-10 minutes is understandable at some points, not every time you log on, but sometimes. And I just want to say, like we're not home yet. We know that. Like we know some people are still experiencing problems. We're working on it. We're looking at ways to get you to transfer players easier to other servers. So if that is a problem for you, it happens. And
Just give the ability to guess.
we understand that this is really important to the long-term success for New World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just giving players the ability to say, let's say you're in queue and say, yeah, okay, listen, we know this world's popping, right? We know this is a bad example, but we know like Ginger Prime is on this server and everybody wants to play with that dad. I guess, that's not the real situation, but let's just play in the sandbox for a minute, right? Just join me in this delusion, right? So imagine that. But you know what? You don't want to wait an hour or 2 hours, but imagine you could guest to another server without having to leave your server, because it's not all the time that server might be full or popping off. Now, there could be that sense of transfer, absolutely, but the ability to sit down and say, oh, we detect that you're in a queue, even if it's this fake, like just this holding world, like a copy of your world, for example, just in some way to be able to scale that up so that you're in and playing. And then when it's like, oh, your world's ready, let's go ahead and now just seamlessly like blend you into it, right? Like that would be phenomenal. That'd be phenomenal. Vinny says, let's be honest, or Fina, I tripped up over it, is the Prime server. It is the Prime server. There's no Amazon Prime subs over here on YouTube, but guys, be sure to go drop those on to somebody if you have Amazon Prime over on Twitch sometime today.
Let's talk about some things we want to keep doing. So these are the continue stuff.
Continue.
One of the one at the top of the list is this. And what I mean by this is communicating directly with the players.
Yes.
Not only through the dev video, but the forums, we're on Reddit, all the stuff we talk about all the time, the in-game feedback mechanism. We're gonna keep doing this. We think it's been working really well for us. We hope you feel the same way. So that's one I don't think we have a lot of discussion around. It's pretty straightforward. Another one is we want to keep investing in performance. We want the game to run as good as possible on as many machines as possible.
Oh.
Yep. No, and I think performance is multi-factor, right? Like we want to deal with client performance so that it runs well. We want to deal with network performance so that you can see all the people. I know we've had some issues where like you might lose VFX or things like that. These are all high on our list. We recently put back the Instancing Wars. That's an attempt
Yes.
to make hubs more stable. So this is something we're tackling on multiple fronts. It's one we're not done with also. Like you said, this is a continue for sure, but it's high on our list. And I think, you got to be able to play the game at performance to really enjoy it. So,
We want to keep doing events.
Yes.
The summer event was, I had a blast playing it. I think like the players seem to like it. The winter event, the Winter Convergence Festival we did last year, even Turkulon was pretty fun. Turkey Terror.
giant turkeys. Come
Turkey
on,
Terror,
man.
sorry.
Not the love.
But I think it's something we want to, keep doing and,
Yeah.
and lean into a little more.
What
Absolutely.
do those giant turkey legs sell for on the market these days, Drew? They're
Pretty
expensive.
good amount.
Yeah.
So.
That's pretty, because they're delicious. Yeah, we definitely want to keep digging into that. I know that, personally, and after reading forums and Reddit, like the Summer Medley Fair did excellent.
Yes.
It's
so
probably
fun.
one of our best performing events. And that says something because it was an event that brought people together. It got them to be in an excited way introduced to this new gameplay, which was instruments. So that was really cool. I know that quite a few of my friends who had lapsed, honestly, came back for musical instruments, and they're like, hey, you want to jam out for like real quick? And I do want to jam out real quick. Let's do this. It's awesome. And so we're going to lean into those events that are just exciting and fun.
It was so funny. I was playing the other night, and we're doing the chest run at Merkgard, and we're on the last big portal. And some dude's up there playing music. And people are like, why is he doing that? I'm like, who cares?
Why not? Who
It's
cares? It's
hilarious.
fun.
What was the buff, though? Which buff
Territory
was
What
it?
buff? What buff? Yeah.
Territory standing.
I know, we're in Shattered Mountain. You don't get any territory stay, but who cares? It was still fun.
It is fun. I like it a lot, and I honestly will. Before we do like an elite chest run, somebody will start playing music, and if they have a buff that's like interesting, like either gathering luck or even like decidedly dexterous, I think those ones are kind of fun to pick up right before you do those runs.
Oh yeah, I always start up a session right before we go into mines for the increased yield.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Exactly.
I think for me, the rewards this time for the medley affair were awesome, right? And I think that's a big improvement. Like the patterns were really awesome. That fishing pole, although we know there's a bug with it, we're on it. That is an amazing fishing pole. So I think just the rewards really gave me another reason to participate.
My whole backyard is lights from I had all these extra tokens.
It's hilarious.
What else do we want to keep doing? We want to keep getting better.
I'm going to let him talk in a second, but one of the things I feel is really important that we should definitely praise is this is a team that also lives in their game. This is an important aspect. They're not off, just not even playing in their game. They're actively playing it. They're actively doing the content. They're getting the rewards from it, and they're having fun with this stuff. And that's one of the things that really gets me excited about this game, about its future and more. And at this point, I think, guys, if you're already still here with us, hitting that like button's a great way to support the stream. So thank you guys for the 35 likes. Also, we have a membership drive going out here on the channel. Membership's $1, starts at $1, and I'm trying to get 200 $1 tier members with a goal of 1,000 members overall. But if you guys have the ability, join the green name tag, the Soul Nation Army. We have a special role and some surprises coming to you guys over in Discord. We got a lot of stuff moving and shaking, as well as exclusive content here on the channel. So thank you guys to everybody who is a member. Thanks to everybody who is just looking for this likes as well. It really does mean a lot. But hopefully you guys got a drink, some coffee or whatnot, because this thing's continuing for quite a while.
It's storytelling and varying our content more.
Yeah. I think the revamped starting experience, what people are playing right now in the PTR is really a big personification of this, right? Like we want the story to push people through the zones. We want the story to, tell meaningful stories. We're doing more in terms of introducing people like the Grace O'Malley character. You're getting to see her more often, so you build that relationship with her. The types of questing experience we're doing. Are you laughing at me?
Yes,
We're in a hat.
you're so
I don't know how bad. I just want to snap that. I don't know. I got to get mine off too.
There's platforming, where you jump from hat to hat.
Platforming has been really nice.
But all these different types of
Yes.
experiences,
Daniel,
I
you're
think
amazing.
just really help the starting experience and questing.
Absolutely.
I also
Absolutely.
like the historical figures that are sprinkled in, and that kind of gives me that connection to what's going on and what it could be.
Absolutely. I think Brimstone Sands is a huge, huge amount of lore that goes into that, and very interested in the history that we're building there.
For sure. One of the main pieces of feedback that we got previously was people didn't really connect to the story. Like, it was there, but unless you were truly seeking it out, you really didn't find it. Like, it wasn't a part of your journey. They just joined and did what they wanted. And so with the Revamped starting experience to start it off, and then into Brimstone, that entire progression, you are hearing her talk in your head.
Yes, I
which
love that.
just brings it home. This is Isabella talking to you. So that is so cool. And it definitely brings the lore and the storytelling direct to the player this time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's a few
100%.
cinematics that were held back that we can't wait to share with people.
I
as
can't
well.
wait to see
think
these
it's gonna help
cinematics.
drive that story
Their
further.
cinematics are phenomenal.
Surprises.
The very limited ones. So the fact that we're getting more
What else do we want to keep
is exciting.
doing? More on-demand group content for PvE and PvP. So
Ooh,
what I think about this one, it's the expeditions,
Yes.
OPR. Those things are just so fun, and
Yes.
they seem to be resonating with players. So we want to keep doing those type of activities and maybe invent some new ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other thing that we have added in the last year is we have the 3v3 arenas. We're still looking at a lot of improvements and changes coming to those over the next few months. So definitely want to continue to build on the different modes that we've introduced. To that end, Group Finder and removing expedition keys, huge boost. We actually have twice as many expeditions being run every day than we used to have just a few weeks ago before these two changes. We're very excited about. That means so many more players are getting into expeditions so much easier and getting all that loot and getting all that content fed to them easier. Awesome.
And the solo option, right? Because so that was not something that we launched with, was a solo option for people that wanted to just play the main story quest line without having to group up, and they just want to do their own thing. And that's now an option. So you have an opportunity to do a solo experience instead of having to group up. I still suggest grouping up. You can use Group Finder. There's no orbs. Come on, get into the expedition.
Come on.
Big one. You mentioned arenas. Like, we're now going to be introducing separate queues for solo people and groups in arenas. So I think that's going to, one, help the balance, and two, just give another option to solo players.
I also think like Group Finder, we have some kinks to work out there, and over the next few months, I think we're going to make it more accessible and easier for players to get in and find it. And it's something we're going to continue to work on and improve.
Yeah, I think the PvP experience for lower level players being able to jump into arenas, as we see more players returning and more players starting up in New World, we're seeing those start to really pop off. This last week, we had massive amounts of players participating in level 30 arenas.
Yeah.
So definitely suggest jumping into the queue while you're leveling just to see.
Need some
We want
crossover
to keep adding
stuff.
horizontal gameplay. You might notice
Yes.
that we were asked a lot, are you going to raise the level cap for Brimstone? And we just didn't think it was time to yet. We think as we get more content and more things for players to do, we feel like there's enough there, but we did want to grow sideways a little.
Yes.
So our first foray into this is the Heartgem.
Yep.
I don't know if you want to.
No, Heartgems are a great example, right? One, I think we wanted another active ability, right? So I think it helps the sort of combat experience. And two, it gives you another way to sort of itemize your character. And a lot of these, we really design them as sort of utility abilities, right? Like, so they complement builds. And since they're separate from weapons, it's sort of like almost a third little weapon choice, right? To sort of create a holistic build. So we have that. We have obviously the rune glasses coming out also. And also, like, perks and the sort of itemization around gearing is really our key horizontal gameplay also, right? And I think that's something we recently did, the perk revamp, that I know Drew was super excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in July release, we did the big revamp of almost all the perks in the game. I think out of all of them, we only left maybe 10% untouched. Everything else has changed. That was a huge effort by the team to go through, and we've seen very positive reception, millions of items being crafted, people chasing those best in slot pieces. It's pretty exciting to see that gameplay evolve too.
And Doc, there are no penalties for dying. They're even in the arenas and stuff. There's not even a durability loss, so there's no loss for jumping into that.
The next one is near and dear to my heart. Call it Keep the Chill. We want New World to continue to be a place you can get lost in.
Yeah,
Chop down
love
trees, harvest, fish, play music instruments. It doesn't always have to be a stressful go kill, go run a dungeon, go do a run. Like those are fantastic and really fun. But sometimes it's also fun to just kind of chill through the game, relax, harvest stuff, do things like craft and other activities that aren't quite as stressful. So it's something that I think makes New World feel a little different than other games, and something we're going to keep leaning into.
New World can either be a job or a vacation. The opportunity and option is yours.
Yeah, there's nothing like just running around harvesting and coming upon a new vista maybe you haven't seen before, and a different time of day when you get there, and an entirely different look down on a valley.
Yeah.
It's just great.
At dusk, grab that fishing pole, go to some water, watch a sunset.
I love that aspect. I love that so much.
We want to keep pushing our combat forward. We think our combat is one of the big differentiators in the game, and it's something we are going to continue pushing and try to improve and make better.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about the Heartgems. That's our most recent addition. We got a new weapon coming that's going to completely shake up the meta, the big Greatsword. So it's something we're going to keep investing in. The performance of it is another area that we're constantly looking at, how to optimize, make it smoother, especially in large-scale combat. So big effort.
And I think we're going to, I don't have a time frame or anything, but we're going to continue to add more weapons into the mix over time for sure. I think it's interesting how it mixes up gameplay.
Let us know what you want next, community.
Yes.
They've let us know.
And what is
Daggers.
Daggers. Daggers.
We'll see.
TBD. There's other weapons
I thought
in
it
the
was
mix
blowgun.
too. A blow dart gun?
We want to
Lightning
continue
magic.
making the rewards better and improving the rewards and delivering great rewards. I think that, what drives you to do anything, it's the rewards. So
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about a bunch of adjustments on the perks, making it feel more rewarding when you're crafting, just because there's more of the perks are viable. There's more builds to play with there. We also went back and did a pass and looked through all of the elite zones in the world and a lot of the just different POIs and up the level of some of those monsters. So that way there's new items available from those. I know I've spent many hours farming rings myself out in the open world. So we really looked at the rewards across the different aspect of where players play and where they spend their time, and I've tried to increase those. I think it's also really apparent in Brimstone Sands and a lot of the different POIs and zones there and rewards that you're getting from quests.
And the starting experience, right? Like we handcrafted rewards for every quest from 1 through 25. And a lot of them are really juiced, right? Like they give you power over your level, which is really great feeling. And since you level pretty quick now, it doesn't sort of, break the balance too much. So it's fun to sort of give them juiced rewards.
break the balance, which leads to our last continue, which is we want to keep things balanced. It's important, and we hear the feedback, and the meta, is this or the meta is that. I think, what is it today? I read last night it was the bow and the musket, which I don't agree with.
Bow PR.
Yeah, bow maybe, but musket is, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, especially a game with such wide variety of gameplay, right? Like we've got obviously PvE solo, we've got group PvE, we've got solo, we've got the arenas, we've got wars, we've got OPR. So across this wide spectrum, it's really hard to balance things. I think, we're continuously looking for outliners, but sometimes if a weapon is really good in one part of gameplay, that is sometimes okay with us that it doesn't shine in every other, right? Like I know the musket is the example Scott and I have talked about, right? Like in PvE, the musket is not, I think it's not high tier, let's be fair. But it can be really, really good in OPR, and in war they have specific musket ranges for the siege weaponry and things like that. So there's purposes.
But the musket to me is an example of where a weapon can be considered OP when quite often a player who's way better than others. And
Is that why you don't like it?
yes, no, I'm very,
I don't think
very
I've
like.
ever seen Scott use a musket.
Actually, you'll see
You
one
can't
today.
aim.
I can aim, I just can't hit anything. But when I play myself play and then I watch Shroud play, I want to kick something because he headshots every single thing, every shot, and by human, like in OPR and stuff. And whereas for me,
You can't even hit an AI.
I can hit it. I can hit our game team members, but some players crush me. Anyway, let's move on. I think the first one is we're going to start leaning more into solo.
Yeah.
But by the way, that doesn't mean we're going to ignore PvP or PvE or anything else. Or group play. We're going to lean into solo as one thing. We're just going to put more effort toward.
Yeah, I think especially at endgame, there's not a lot of solo activities that you can do right now. And I think that's something we're starting to take a look at. And I think you're going to start to see glimpses of it in Brimstone already. There might be opportunities for more solo chests as you get into the PTR and explore there. And I think, finding ways to, create meaningful progression in gameplay for endgame players as solo is something we're going to start thinking more
I
about.
hope that means
I think the
XP.
experiment, fight during the end of the Brimstone story. after I played it a few times, I'm like, I think we probably should try to find more ways to do things like this in the game. It feels really good.
Yeah, it's the Apophis fight. That solo instance is really fun, and it's like playing a boss in an expedition, except you get to do it all by yourself. It's got the same phases.
I didn't want to blow the story for people, but
it's not what I just said.
it's not Apophis. It's some other person.
They're going to see it.
Yes. You know, we now feel like we've done a pretty good job at group content, and now we want to start working towards super hard endgame raid content.
Whoa.
And it was really important that we made a few good
Whoa,
expeditions
you guys
before
hear
we
that?
start, you know, crawl before you walk, walk before you run. that
Raid
kind of thing. It was really
content.
important that we felt like we were succeeding at making expeditions before we start looking at raids. And I think we have some evidence now that we're doing a pretty good job at expeditions. And
Their
we're still
dungeons are
working on that.
phenomenal. These expeditions
Yeah,
are
absolutely. I think
phenomenal.
there's a lot of compelling content to be made for 10, 20 group of players to see. You may have seen a glimpse of something that's in the future in store for you, and we are looking to add a lot more content like that in the future.
Yeah, for me, I think it's going to be hella fun when it's done. But the other thing is, like, right now, a lot of the gearing in game is so oriented towards PvP, right? Like best in slot is defined by Brazilian and all the PvP perks, right? And what we want to do is create some PvE content that is as hard and challenging as war, so that you really have to optimize your gear for the PvE experience. And I think when we release this feature, that is a goal, right? Like to make sure that it really drives the end game progression.
I hope whenever we release that feature, we have some method that helps you manage those gear changes that we're talking about.
Whoa, you taking low notes?
I think that would be important.
Yes, one of the big things that we're looking to do is aim for easier ways to swap in between different gear sets. Obviously, those of you who do high-level mutations, you're probably rocking different gear sets for different mutations to reduce the damage that you're taking from the monsters in those. Inventory management starts to become a lot when you are carrying all these different sets, and we're looking to add a feature that will help out with that significantly.
As a crafter, I would like that also, right? Like I don't have to swap in
Certainly
stone
true.
cutting, refining, all that.
But just full transparency, those aren't like in the near-term roadmap. These are things we're working toward.
That's why we're not calling them out by any kind of name.
Yeah. Speaking of things we're working toward, on
Yeah.
our last start,
Things that are in the design phase.
yes, things that are really early, like concepting.
Yeah.
But we do get some feedback that players would like more ways to move quickly through the world.
Yeah.
More fast
And
travel points?
more.
I don't think they want
you know,
fast travel.
You know, shrines are great, but as our world is growing, and I mean, people have seen Brimstone Sands, it's massive, and the world is going to continue to grow. We are designing mounts.
Again, no timeline on these. Very far into the future,
Yeah.
but it is something we are beginning to actively work on. Part of that is because we know as the world gets, like right now, the world is really big. I think if it gets any bigger, it's going to require it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's super important. So you can kind of think about timelines along those lines.
But don't think about timelines,
Yeah.
like at all.
Yeah.
Don't think about that. Just know that we heard you. We know that this is important, and we are working on it, but it is very, very close to just the inception point.
Yeah.
So.
Well, in an effort to not let this thing go on all day, I think we're gonna call this one done. But before we leave, big shout out to Eternum. Happy birthday! Happy birthday, team!
Happy birthday.
Mount-based jousting. That'd be good.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hi, I'm Mike, and joining me are Rob.
All right, so that was that was an epic first update. That's like just the part of this video. Rates, I think that's obviously a real key indicator. We're also getting PvE and PvP leaderboards, but that's actually supposed to be targeted for the fall. We have not seen that yet on the PTR, so I'm wondering if that slips into November or something like that. But I'm gonna let them. They were talking about the Revamped starting experience, Brimstone Sands, Heartgems, the Greatsword, and the Expedition. So this might be more focusing in on what we're going to be seeing here really, really soon.
Rosie and Phil again, and we're going to talk about the Revamped starting experience. I'm really excited about this. Major changes and overhauls took place, and a lot of it had to do with the story that we wanted to tell. And I wanted to start from kind of the beginning, which is appropriate on some of the new mechanics and storytelling methods that made it into the current world state for the player. So Rob, why don't we start from the crash?
Sure. So we absolutely, we've talked about improving the storytelling experience in New World since we launched. Even before that, we were kind of thinking, hey, maybe some things we can do. Right here, this is our first chance where we really, massively changed not just the quest, but the story, the characters, the dialogue in so many ways. And right at the beginning, you crash on the beach, and really to bring home kind of the threat and what's going, you're going to start hearing a voice in your head. I guess I'll leave it a mystery maybe for people who may.
I think most people should have played by now. Well, we can say it's the Tempest.
It's the Tempest.
The Tempest is now whispering. Yes.
It is the seductive voice of corruption,
There you
who may be both taunting and trying to recruit you.
Now, on that, before we continue, Distorted with 5 gifted memberships to the channel. Thank you so much, Distorted, and welcome in all of the new members. We have member exclusive content here. We also have a membership drive going on, trying to get to the goal of 1,000 members, of which I'm hoping to get $200 club members, which we had Daniel join in earlier. This tier is the second tier up, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Distorted, for that support. Welcome into the new members, and hopefully you guys enjoy the content and the exclusive member content here on the channel as well. Appreciate you guys so very much.
And yeah, she'll start talking to you right away, kind of like giving you a hint of like the larger threat and where that's going. And then when the player gets out on the beach, it's a totally different series of quests there. The players will get to meet an all new character. Like the characters will actually move around on the beach, and the story unfolds as they move.
There's one particular character that we've invested more time into.
Yeah. So we wanted to create a character who is really a companion, who felt like someone that joined the player right at the beginning of the game and stays with you throughout your journey and is really a sounding board. Somebody else who's kind of going through the experience of being on this strange island with you, and that's Grace O'Malley.
Grace O'Malley.
She doesn't have the best morals, but she's a fun pal.
Right?
Yeah, she's a pirate.
Middling moral fiber.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a historical figure, so you can look her up on Wikipedia. But she's not all that on Wikipedia is
I was
true,
going to
of course,
say a critical source for the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
On the internet.
This one closer to the truth.
Well, if it's on the internet,
It's on the
true.
internet. It's probably.
Well, it doesn't have the part though where she came to a turnip, which is what I'm saying. Like that part.
Oh yeah, that part
entirely
has been
inaccurate.
scrubbed
Slightly
a little bit.
fictional.
Yeah, they even say that she died. Whatever.
So, but now we're presenting the player with kind of like multiple paths to,
Right.
experience along this new journey.
Right. So with the 2 starting zones, both Monarch's Bluffs and Windsward, each one has a totally different story. They both delve very much into these areas grappling with the threat of the lost. Even though corruption is kind of breathing down from the north, they're still dealing with this terrible threat of people turning lost in the area. And so in Windsward, we very much have this story around a druidic group and Medea, the witch from mythology. And then in Monarch's Bluffs, we've leaned heavier into the Arthurian mythology.
Yes.
And a lot of some characters there, and the whole we've really revamped the zone dramatically.
What
That's
other
an understatement. I think.
Yeah, it is. Like some of the new vistas and new POIs and
So
I know
beautiful,
people
guys. It's
get
so
super attracted
beautiful.
to the castles and stuff. Like Monarchs is really awesome that way. But some of the newer sets and the designs around Medea and the druids and the
knights.
Iron
Rose.
Rose estate, like those things are pretty impressive as well. And some of the puzzles that we've integrated throughout. So with that, I kind of wanted to lead that over to Rosie as a segue. Is like, with all this new storytelling, like how did we, approach that with art, like in our layouts and our designs there?
Well, of course, we wanted to support the Arthurian look and feel with castles because everyone loves
Castles
to
are
see
cool.
that.
Castle vibes, yeah.
And we also wanted to have a feeling, no matter where you are within the settlement, you know where you are. So you're never confused about which one you're in. So now they are all really different from each other. And it
That's
has
good. That's
that
really good.
castle vibe, but it also has vistas of, from the castles, you can see different vistas from around the world, which are sort of leading the player and showing the player, where they've been and where they might go in the future.
Yeah, I actually like that foreshadowing in the Monarch starting beach because as you look out like past the ship where you first meet Grace, like you see Gawain's castle in the background. It's like silhouetted, depending on time of day, and you're just like, I get to go there.
Yes, exactly.
And you don't exactly go to that one first, but
Right.
the fact when you get the lead into the big settlement, you're like, wow, it's so much
Yes.
more impressive than it was before.
Exactly. Yeah, that was what we were going for, was that big wow moment of entering the castle and just feeling like, wow, I'm in the Arthurian legend now.
Yeah, and we got all new enemies, right? Like we got
Mhm.
the Lost Knights, who are the old the remnant of Arthur's knights from way long ago. And as the players play through this zone, there's much like the quests are going to be streamlined. The story unfolds as you move through the zone, as opposed to having to come back to the settlement every 10 minutes, which I think is a thing that many players have been clamoring for.
Yeah, so we wanted these tighter loops with our quest hubs and when you were doing activities and then coming back before you did the next, nice chunk. So we also integrated a lot more spirit shrines as well. So
Oh, yeah.
in order to teach fast travel to players, but also
So
to have these nice
many points
accessible points, so you could keep coming back and forth between places where you wanted to go quest or you're ready to turn in. So decide you went off the beaten path. Maybe I want to go mine a ton of ore or do whatever.
One fast travel's not as expensive as it used to be.
Yeah, it's totally affordable. We also still give you a bunch of Azoth in the early quests as well. And like that's one of my favorite feelings in like the early quests and early player experience in our game is just you go out, you do all your quests, you do some gathering, you do some hunting, you get, you're full, you're near encumbered, and then you just are able to zip back to the town and unload, and that feels so good. Turn all the quests, go refine all your materials, craft some stuff. Like
It's a good
so
gameplay
With his
loop. It's
hat
a good
and his
gameplay loop.
excitement, I'm just kidding. So one of the other things that I really liked is all these new gimmicks that we started introducing into the RSE. Like one of my favorite POIs is the Canis POI. We've kind of redone beautiful interior and layout that was done by, was it Tia and Austin?
Leah
and Austin.
Leah Jong,
Leah-
not in Austin.
Oh, I thought Austin was the.
And Austin.
And
Yes,
Austin
I'm
is
sorry.
the world
Yes,
designer. So it
yes.
was both of them together. It was such an amazing space to dive into.
Yes,
And
literally.
you
into
dive into it.
Yeah, so it's a totally new way of entering and going through and experiencing a whole POI.
It's giving you that tease of ancient technology that you get to experience in Starstone later, but earlier on. So it's like a maze of laser puzzles with cool little secrets behind little corridors and something that players haven't got a chance to do yet. And it's just some of those things that we're starting to incorporate, like the glyph puzzles and some of the dynamic encounters that happen too, like aboard like the incoming pirate ship.
incoming pirate ship, yeah, and you shoot the cannon and
Oh yeah.
it calls the pirate ship in, and then you've got to battle them, and you have a quest to like that pops up, just go kill the captain. It's really cool.
And shooting the cannon to open up sections of caverns.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot
You
of
go
fun.
through. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's tons of honestly like tons of traversal puzzles that we put in that are like it
Yeah.
just totally changes the game. Like I think mantling around in our game is one of the highlights. Like
Yeah.
I actually enjoy moving.
I agree
around.
with that.
Like figuring the ways out to climb up to the space I'm trying to get to is that's one of my favorite things in all the new quests.
Yeah,
I
jumping
do like it
puzzles,
when I get to
baby.
go prone though. Like,
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
know,
And that's
crawl
specifically in
the
Give you a
Canada.
reason.
cannons, it's kind of fun. It's
Yeah.
fantasy.
I like all the variety too of all these new ways of interacting with things.
Yeah, we've added a lot to the Quest IOs and did a major overhaul in the amount of like, it shouldn't be like standard kill quests or go loot a chest. So it's a lot more,
A lot more variety.
Very
Yeah.
few of those
story
at this
driven.
point.
Yeah.
And we've added a lot more mini bosses, right? Like with actually like some interesting dynamics in the fights. I mean, Gawain's there, and
Yeah.
Medea's there, and like those are great fights. But there's plenty more like in the middle of
Yeah.
each quest series.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you don't just go straight to kill them. You have to do other things as you're doing it.
Yeah, and with all those additions, like we've sped up leveling and rewards as well, right, Phil?
Oh, yeah, incredibly. We've sped up the leveling, so the amount of XP that you need to get from levels 1 to 60 overall has been sped up a lot. And the best source now officially is the quests and the main storyline quests. So we have taken some back from the territory projects because like those were kind of a weird way where you could kind of subvert going through the experience, learning about the Tempest, learning about the threat to Eternum. And we really want that to be the main avenue that players are progressing their characters. We also added a little bit more XP now too from reading lore pages and just general harvest or gathering, I should say, not just harvesting, but like gathering things in the world, gathering materials. And so all that, I think, just kind of leads you to just a really, it's just a well-balanced, smooth progression up. We're feeling really good about it. I think we've gotten some really great feedback too that's starting to feel really fun. And then the other thing I'm really proud of is the rewards now for the starter zones in Everfall are now, we've gotten rid of all of the weapon and armor boxes there, and all the rewards now are very intentional. And that starts from the beach. So when you land on the beach, you will see some different items strewn about the areas we're sending you to. So it's
Like
kind
in
of like
wreckage or caverns.
Mhm.
And yeah, you get to discover something that you might want to use.
exactly hidden off in a corner of a boar cave or
I
something.
think if you look
potentially.
around, you can find almost every weapon if you look hard enough.
Yeah.
Some of them
Yep.
have hidden,
I
some
like that they
sure.
brought in the weapons as a part of the new player experience as you work your way through. It is truly an interesting way to open up, obviously, the different ways of play. Typically, when I get talk from new players coming back, hey, how do I get a hold of this weapon? Generally, you have to drive them to the market board itself because maybe they don't have that. And that's perfectly fine for them. But people stepping into the new player experience, being able to actually like, oh, I got to play around with all these different weapons, kind of see what I feel might interest me the most, and then kind of take that forward from there. It's truly, it really is a good experience in that regards. And then Fluppy for 15 months at a tier 3. Oh my gosh, Flup, thanks so much. He says, loving the direction of the game. Let's keep it going. New World is already a good game. Can't wait for it to be great. You should have thrown again at the end of that and watch people just like get like, yeah, you know. Oh, what a fun one. Thanks, guys, also for the 68 likes on this stream. Appreciate it so much.
Yeah, some of them are hidden, some of them are breadcrumbed along the experience, but like, you know, you can discover weapons and you can get access to that combat fantasy that you want just from the get-go of the game. Like, you should be able to just kind of find something that really feels good to you. So like, I'm a blunderbuss player a lot too. So like the fact that I can find one of that before I get to town and have fun just shotgunning random corrupted baddies on the beach, like that's awesome.
Yeah. The you mentioned the territory projects. I was just going to call it like, but we're increasing the amount of territory experience they give you. But I think, I mean, what I think is so exciting about that is it gets back to the idea that, you know, when you're doing those, you're improving your standing with the town. And like, I actually hope too that with the more unique aspects that we've done to each one of the towns and Monarchs particularly, and in Everfall, where Everfall is a really unique look.
Yeah, totally overhaul.
Yeah, having loyalty to those and doing the projects, I think really, I don't know, it makes me feel more like, I want this to be my hometown because I really like the way it looks.
Right.
And Everfall's theme is like dramatic, very different from
Yeah.
Monarchs.
All different material types, and it's a completely different look and feel.
What's the inspiration behind Everfall?
It's more of like more of an industrial-ish kind of look, like almost Victorian, brick and mortar, I should say, with copper roofs.
Copper roofs,
and-
beautiful teal patina on there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Ooh,
So you're getting
it.
like new colors, just
Looks
like
amazing.
I was saying, when you're in Everfall, you
It
know
looks
exactly
so
where
good.
you are at all times.
So I have a house in Everfall. Now, when all this art changes and everything, am I still going to have my same house?
Yeah, there's a small chance that your furniture might be packaged up and you'll have to place it again.
Redecorate
Potentially,
the
yeah.
new space?
Or
Just-
something might be off just a smidge.
Yeah,
We try to
it might be.
maintain the layouts as close to possible, like for the volume of space.
But it's still
But
gonna
there's
be
some
nice,
there could be a circumstance where
that's all right.
something's moved.
New house decoration, make sure the feng shui is correct in the new spot.
Well, one other thing I wanted to touch on before we wrap things up is the enclaves, because I think those are awesome new additions that like really celebrate and highlight the factions more.
Yeah, we really, I mean, we wanted the joining a faction to be something that players did because they were excited about the factions, not necessarily something they were forced into. And now you really get to like go and meet the factions, and you get to have a story quest with them where you get to know them, and eventually you get to come to the Enclave, where each one is, it kind of blew us away when we saw what you guys did.
Really
It's
impressive.
that home base that has its signature and really feels like you belong to it, and it has it.
With these home bases on the Enclave, like I really hope that we see them actually like expand out what features and things like that, offer, right? Whether these be faction quests, like we have our faction ones that are a part of the different towns, but it would be really interesting to see if they brought in like your company ended up having its own area, right? We talked about like how great it would be to have a company chest, how great would it be to have like a company house or a guild hall and then a way to kind of like maybe celebrate that in the same kind of way. But that's maybe that's something we explore later. Also, Insurrection, thanks so much for taking the challenge and becoming, I think, our 130th member at the Dollar Club level, at the tier 1 level. Thank you so much. We're trying to get that to 200. So I appreciate you making making a step towards that goal ever so gracefully. My brain is like Brian melting. I'm so excited.
Its place in the world.
Yeah, again, you get a real sense of what these factions are, what they're all about, and like what the mood is when you join them, so you understand them fully.
Yeah, the syndicate's totally.
Oh, it's like
creepy.
buried like in this
Yeah.
cave, and
Oh,
this
yeah.
cave just
They have
buried.
different laboratories and things on the inside, and all their experiments going off. But then you go to like the Covenant, and it's this massive cathedral with just
Yes.
just outside like a haunted graveyard.
yeah, it's really cool.
As you do.
Yeah.
And then the Marauders one's
Just
awesome
out in the
too.
wilds.
It's so like
Yeah.
magnificent and proud, and it's
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, and we should also mention. I mean, the main story quest through Everfall is much tighter. This is as you mentioned, like Monarchs and Windsward are absolutely about these Sir Gawain and these stories that are happening there. But now in Everfall, players really get to travel with Jonas, learn more about the Soul Wardens, and the whole experience is really like cultivated, I'd say, now with side quests to complement, and you really feel like you're traveling through the zone and exploring new areas.
And it's no longer mandatory for a solo player to go into an expedition to go through the main story.
Yeah.
So
All the main
there's
story quests
there's
have-
all single player focused versions of the MSQ to get you past those points.
all the way up into the Tempest Heart.
Yes.
Yep. TBD on that.
So you heard it here.
No, it's kind of an important moment,
It is. It's
yeah.
that culmination of everything.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
the whispers lead you up to.
Yeah, it's worth calling out too. We skipped over the idea that in addition to the Whispers, you're also going to see a cinematic early in the starter beach where you'll learn more about the Tempest, like learn more about Isabella's past, in fact, which is kind of cool there. And then we have some more of those elsewhere in the game.
Yeah,
too.
animated sequences and then actual cinematics at play.
Yeah, we're getting a lot more capability there. Having a lot more fun with the
Yeah.
tools.
Well, all awesome stuff. Thanks everybody, and happy
Thanks,
birthday
Mike.
to Turnham.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Oh, there it is.
All right. Now I see somebody in chat talking about how some of this does feel like it's also targeted more towards new players than active New World players. I get that. I get that feeling. Absolutely. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing overall, but I think essentially I'm hoping we get to see some additional announcements either here or throughout this, right? Because they already talked about raids. We already know loadouts are coming. We already know mounts are coming. We already know these things are coming. What I want to see is an updated roadmap. I don't know if that's going to drop today, but that's what I'm hoping for, at least in that regards. But we'll have to wait and see, as we're only halfway through this monster. So thanks guys so much for hanging out with me during this epic video.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm joined again by Rob, and this time with David and Charles, and we're going to be talking about all things Brimstone Sands. Super exciting. It's our brand new zone, a giant zone, and I want to start things off talking about the lore, because right when you enter the zone, one of the first things that you see just out there on the horizon is this giant pyramid. What's that about, Rob?
There's a giant pyramid. There's a giant statue of a Roman general. Like there's
Big landmarks and fixtures in this desert.
It's huge. I mean, the zone's huge, and everything in it is huge. And I mean, story-wise, the story of Brimstone Sands is very rooted in world history. It's the history of if you've read your history books, or if you watch the HBO series Rome, then you're familiar with what happened when Mark Antony and Cleopatra were finally cornered in Alexandria, and there's a whole story about what happened to them. But it's not actually the truth, and the truth is that they fled to Eternum.
Of course.
And that is the idea in
Yeah,
Brimstone Sands. Yeah, you knew that.
Yeah,
You figured it all along. I mean, HBO kind of hinted at it because they knew what was coming. But but of course, when they got here, you had this Roman legion and some Egyptians who came here. They discovered that there was an Egyptian civilization that had been here much longer than that, with some famous figures from history that you'll meet in your quest series there. Imhotep, for one, to call out, and you'll meet some others. But yeah, so it's this clash of these the Romans and then these ancient Egyptians who really saw the ancients as gods when they first came here, and then the whole story plays out. It's pretty epic, and as it needs to be, just to take you across that zone because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it feels like that that early trailer that we had watching the Romans take that jewel.
Right.
Like we have like callbacks to that
Yeah.
several times.
Yeah, I
we
get
do.
that feeling
we,
too.
We call back to that in the main story a few times, and it's a, I
Been
mean,
the plan all along.
We're right here.
the Romans are always the evil ones, unfortunately. Although the Egyptians are a little evil in this too. I mean, I guess maybe there's a little good and evil on both sides.
In all of us, maybe.
And yeah, maybe.
Oh, that's pretty profound.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for
everyone
sure.
walks the gray. Like you're not quite sure who your friends or your enemies are in Brimstone.
Right.
You gotta
Yeah,
kinda
we definitely
figure
are
that
finding out, and I mean that's an important thing to call out because we defeated the Tempest, we defeated Isabella in back in Shattered Mountain, and here this is the opening up of a whole new chapter and storyline with the next big villain you're going to fight, who is an ally you had in the first act, and it's okay to go ahead and just dive in there, right? I mean, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
We kind of hinted at it already.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
so yeah, we did. Yeah, Adiana, who was you're the huntress that worked with you to defeat Isabella, ultimately turns out to be the ancient Artemis, who is a very powerful being and very angry with humanity, and so her ultimate motives are kind of start getting surfaced here in Brimstone.
Okay,
Not
that's
quite
gonna be
happy
cool.
with what you did to Motherwell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You don't mess with the mother. She kind of reluctantly lets you do it, but she's kind of harbors a grudge.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's terrible of her.
Man, well, I
Really.
mean, humans kind of mess up everything.
So with all this new story, obviously we had to have new POIs, new designs, new mechanics. David, what can you tell us about some of the new stuff that we put in here?
I am so excited because Brimstone, as you've heard, is the largest zone we've made so far. It's
About
also
about 2.5 times as big.
2 to 3, yeah.
It's huge.
We have spent countless hours packing this zone with as much unique content, hidden content, secrets, collectibles. Our POIs have tall verticality structures you can climb. Almost every POI can be climbed. There's jumping puzzles, there's platforming puzzles, there's cliffside ruins, Roman forts, sulfur pools. It's a lot of content. It's a lot of unique content, and I can't wait to see what players think of it. I think it sets a new standard for open world interactables and small little dynamic things you can find on the road. It has the most random roadside encounters of any zone so far, and there's a lot to unpack. Do we have the rest of the day to talk about it? Because
Yeah,
I
there's
could
a
talk
lot.
all day.
Yeah.
Well, when the credits roll, we'll make sure that you're talking while we see everything. But some of my favorites are I love the wall, I love the aqueduct, I love the Acropolis. Some of the climbing mechanics that are integrated into there that you're not like, oh, I wasn't sent here, but all of a sudden I discovered something and I keep climbing and I find and discover say an ancient glyph and decipher it, and now I get to use it to unlock either like a one-way portal or one of the new chest unlocks. There's some really cool mechanics that we've started to integrate.
Yeah, the ancient glyphs are a really exciting system. There's 26 of them. They are the secret language of the ancients that you have to discover buried in the sands.
Okay,
Each
cool.
one has a different meaning that the players will unlock. Using that power, you can open up two-way portals across the zone. You can unlock secret chests in the bowels of a giant labyrinth. You can lower magical walls and unveil secret rooms. There's a lot of cool things you can do with them, and hopefully we can continue to add to this system in the future.
Yeah, and of course, one of them is where you get your first heart rune. But the POI where you do that is, I mean, amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
It's like two-sided, right? So it's like you have one side of this giant wall where you go to get your heart rune and go through that experience, and then the whole other side is elite, right?
Yes, it's probably our biggest POI we've ever built, and the artist on it is just done a phenomenal job of adding secret alcoves and hidden closets and climbing portions that take you to new sweeping vistas. It's pretty incredible. You can scour the battlements for treasure, dive into the bowels, and unlock all sorts of secret hidden treasures. So
Yeah, I mean,
It's great.
that's a perfect segue because what I want to talk about is like all these like vistas and landmarks. Charles, if you can touch on the art, because
Sure.
the art is massively compelling because it's a brand new biome, something that we haven't seen in a tournament. You want to take us through
Sure.
some
No,
of that?
I mean it's a massive desert, but desert means a lot of different things. Like real deserts all over the world, they're very different. There's sub-biomes, there's different areas. So we wanted to capture a lot of that. Like we have areas with big sweeping sand dunes, and you get that like I'm lost in the Sahara or something vibe. But then there's like deep crevasses that you go down into canyons. There's a lot of cave structures. There's a more coastal desert vibe. There's like
Yeah.
different sub areas. And then there's the sulfur pits, which is a whole like chemical desert vibe, and it's a whole other treatment, and there's a lot of creatures that come with that you won't find anywhere else. And like the overall take, we really like epic desert was something we really wanted to go for and have it feel really different than the rest of the world. We've done a ton of different like forests and different like very lush biomes, and here it's a very different vibe. And there's stuff we had to do even to achieve that, because like the way our terrain system works, the way materials are spread out, we can't just lean on that like heavy vegetation that we do in other zones. So here we had to go a lot deeper into like how do we present sand dunes and like all the different ways the sand patterns move and how the wind moves the dunes, and like there's a whole system that we had to figure out how to present there to players that a ton of work went into like to pull off. But
I was going to say too that, I mean, the desert wouldn't be complete without the ancient ruins. And I think, I mean, we have ancient ruins all over the game, but Brimstone really takes it to another level. Like, it feels like we go much deeper into what was possible that the ancients might have built.
There's definitely like an escalation of like, you get hints of ancient all over, but here they're expressed a little more extreme. It's like hearkening to like a lot of ruins around Egypt and some of these like massive monuments that you see in real life, and sort of bringing that to a tournament, oversizing it maybe even a little more, because everything in a tournament is just sort of elevated more. They had the power of Azoth to build. And then even going to the settlement is like there's this oasis built in the middle, and Romans in real history are like known as industrious builders, and so we wanted to present that like, oh, a Roman built settlement here, and like what could that be, and all the life and like interesting.
I cannot wait for this to hit on live servers, guys. It's gonna be wild.
Prior to this point, it's sprawling way more, and I think there's a lot of cool, interesting houses for players to get, and interesting landmarks there.
We get to have a fourth house?
Houses, right? Like, to live in Brimstone should be like a premium.
I don't know. I think we want players to come there. Like this is their new home.
I would. I mean, I certainly will.
There's one particular house that is 3 floors. It's got a beautiful view of the giant Colossus right in the middle of town. That's probably the one I'm going to get.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, New Corsica. That's the name of that settlement.
You know, in addition to, I mean, the ancient ruins, the set pieces are amazing, and then the enemies too. Like the Nubian guards are like fantastic. They're some of my favorite ancient enemies I fought.
And these are not just copy paste or recolors of our ancient guardians. These have new kits, new spells, new abilities that the players are going to have to discover and figure out how to defend from.
With these type of cats and the giant scarabs and scorpions and the sulfur lizards, which are crazy scary. There's some big
Grilled
beasts out
lizards
there.
that shoot acid at you.
Yeah, and the other enemy families with the dust phantoms. And then obviously you have the Roman Legion that are there, and they have some.
Yeah, there's a pretty cool backstory
characters
to the Corrupted Legion too, because you know, of course, the Romans and the Egyptians both arrived here at the same time, and then over time they had a falling out between them over you know, do we want to activate all these ancient technologies? The Egyptians kind of believed, or some of the Egyptians believed, hey, these are, you know, gifts from the gods. We should turn these things on. And you know, General Crassus, the Roman general, was like, I don't know about that. And ultimately, what happened is he got all the Romans, the legion got turned to stone as part of a spell that was cast from the Ennead, and then when they came out, they became corrupted, and now they're kind of the first immediate threat when you get into the zone. But I think they're fantastic. They're some of my favorite corrupted enemies for sure.
And then there's one other really big thing that just roams around.
Yeah.
And some people might have gotten glimpses of it early, but you're guaranteed to see it in the PTR. Well, if you're lucky. It's a big, scary beast that roams the sands.
But you can't fight that.
You can't fight that.
It would kill you.
No, it's too big.
Yeah.
It's too big.
It actually does kill you if you stand too close to it.
So you can hear it coming, though.
If you hear a rumble and something that looks like a small volcano or a fissure, just run. Just get out of the way.
That worm is wild.
Like, I mean, one thing I would say for sure, like, if you played through other parts of the game and you went looking for things, you explored and looked for something, and got frustrated you didn't find something, like if you explore in Brimstone, you're going to find cool things. And I guarantee you're not going to find them all. It's going to take some time because there's so much that you guys have put in. It's amazing.
Yeah. Check behind waterfalls. Check behind.
Check everything.
Check underneath
Classic
platforms.
Check the roads, do drop downs, because there was one that I found outside of where the Heart Rune quest is. It's a series of like drop downs from, I think it was like nests.
Oh, on
Yeah.
the cliffside.
And you could see it, and it was like on a cliff, and if you mapped it out, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I see something twinkling down there, and it was another glyph that you could acquire, and I thought that was super.
We have jumping puzzles, and that's an example of a falling puzzle.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. So you just got to keep wary. I think that's going to wrap it up for now. Really interested to hear your feedback from the PTR. We're very excited about this zone and what it's going to be.
I said I wanted cactuses to hurt you.
Happy birthday, Eternum.
Yeah, this is your gift for the first year. It's a Brimstone Sands, a pretty good gift.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Are we gonna get a date?
Hello, we're here to discuss the Heart Gem today. It's one of our new features. It's going to be adding an extra ability to our players. So I'm gathered here today with Phil over here, a product owner for Open World Systems. And we got Rob over here, who's our narrative director, and Kyle, our senior gameplay engineer. So let's get down to it. Let's hear the lore behind these Heart Gems.
Cool. So as you guys should know from playing through the main story, players first get their Heart Gem. It's they insert this gem into their chest.
Insert. That was very gentle way of putting it, right?
A nice way of saying it. Yes.
Yeah.
The idea behind the gem is that it protects the player's soul from becoming corrupted or becoming lost. And this is part of becoming a soul warden in the game. And of course, indeed, like it's pretty grim way you have to insert this into your chest. You have to actually die to put it in there. And the players do that early in the main story. And now, as they've advanced farther, and particularly in Brimstone Sands, players discover that there are opportunities to improve their Heart Gem. And the Heart Gem, basically they go around the world, they find these ancient glyphs, and then they can take these glyphs and inscribe them on their Heart Gem as a heart rune. And these give them powers that have, latent powers from that have hidden off on the island. Whether they come from the ancients or they come from some other elemental power on the island. They come from a lot of different places. And then of course, the cool thing is cool. As cool as the story bit is around them, and you get it by doing a quest with the Soul Wardens in Brimstone Sands. But once we try one of these, that's where it really gets awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting piece of progression because you have that really dramatic moment early on in the game. Now to call back to that and actually use that to, enhance your playable character. Now it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah, we planned it this way all along, of course.
Of course.
Well, speaking of enhancing your character, so just the functionality behind the Heart Gems, one of it's basically a fourth active ability now. So we're gonna have another button to press, which is really exciting for us. One of the bigger things for this is a character base.
On that note, I've already set up a PTR controller guide that I released over on Ginger World Gaming. So if you guys have, or if you're following that channel, you should already have seen that guide, and you can just download the profile and apply it. I am currently testing that same build out on live servers and just making sure that it's absolutely ready. And thank you guys. I had a massive sneeze a second ago. Having that it's ready for any of the controller players here to be able to take advantage of that. So that's, I like that we're getting this extra ability. So there's a couple things that we'll be playing around with, and man, if they didn't announce native controller support, but that would have had me I think I would probably teared up or something for that. And thanks guys for the 88 likes. That's an excellent way. That and lurking on these, even if you're just heading off to work. So thanks all for being here as long as you can. Those lurk views really do help YouTube, I guess, get the recommendations going and flowing.
So it does not matter what weapon you have. So it's going to go right onto your character, which is really neat and opens up a world of opportunity as we move forward with these. And we also have a new way of implementing. We usually have cooldown timers on all our abilities, but this time we actually went with a meter. And Kyle, I know you worked on that. Do you want to give some info?
So one of the big things we had to do to implement this was we had to implement a new charge meter. You'll build charge just by playing the game, attacking, getting attacked, healing, getting healed, just your typical combat situations. And then once the meter is completely filled, you can press the button and unleash your chosen Heart Gem.
Nice.
It charges up pretty fast, right?
We've tried to tune it to about if you're actively playing about once every minute or so.
Okay, that feels good.
Give or take. You know, so when you're actively engaged in war, that was kind of what we were going for, like 1 use per minute or so.
What if I'm getting smacked around by a lot of mobs in a POI or something?
You'll get charged from that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Will it charge faster the more damage, like from damage or from attack? Like, is there a bias?
The way we've tuned it right now is you'll get a little more charge by doing the attacking, not as much charge by getting smacked around, but I mean, you'll still build it.
So there's some hope for me.
Butt kicked. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Good.
And the abilities themselves, they're not, you know, they're obviously not themed after the weapons, but like where did all these ideas come from? Like,
So our abilities are definitely themed from some of our expeditions. So for instance, one of our abilities is a cannon blast, where you basically whip out a cannon and shoot a projectile at people. So, and that comes from B&B, Barnacles and Black Powder. And so every one of these is going to be themed after some type of enemy, some type of expedition, or something in that nature. Which leads me to like, how do we actually get these?
Sure. Yeah. Let me go into that. So to acquire the original heart gem, the heart runes that you inscribe on your heart gem, they come from expeditions primarily. And so in all of our endgame dungeons, Genesis, Lazarus, Tempest, Barnacles and Black Powder, and now the new Ennead, you'll be able to get a tier 1 heart rune that unlocks a unique ability. And those about a 10% drop chance from the bosses there. So that's where you get your tier 1. And then we have 3 tiers. And as you tier it up, it gets more and more powerful. And you actually have a little bit of a choice at unlocking specific different perks at tier 3, which is really cool. And there's going to be a lot of different ways that players can kind of theory craft with that. And to do that, I mean, it's truly an endgame pursuit, and what we want it to do. It's an endgame special ability. To do that, we're requiring you to get like some endgame mats. There's some Brimstone specific materials you'll need to pick up. There's gypsum orbs, which we haven't done before, that actually feed into the recipe here to level it up, as well as just some other unique mats per the type of heart, the heart rune that you're going for. Yeah.
you get your first one though by doing the quest that unlocks it.
That's right.
Important to note. So look for that in North Brimstone. About halfway through the Brimstone storyline that unlocks.
Yep.
And, you get Cannon Blast with that, right?
I believe our first one is Cannon
That's
Blast.
Yeah, but in Brimstone, in the Ennead though, when you're completing that expedition, that's where you would get the detonate one, and that's really cool. And so like
That's
more
funny, Vinny.
thematic to that expedition. The
Vinny in chat, for those who aren't reading, he says Expedungeons. It's like, yeah, dungeons, expeditions, all one and the same. I'm gonna challenge you guys. You're at 95 likes. Can we get 100? I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave my fate into your hands. Thank you.
power of the sulfuric sands and the acid, and stuff that goes boom. It's really exciting. I don't know. I think it's going to add a ton of depth to gameplay. Yeah.
Greatsword and Cannon Blast is definitely.
that what
That's
you're
how
going
I've play tested all Brimstone with that.
Well, it's really nice because like you've got your melee build, and then the Cannon Blast gives you that ranged element to just plow through maybe some mobs attacking you. Yeah, that's really cool.
Definitely massive power.
Yeah, it is good. The abilities, you can use them to slot in things you don't have on your normal weapons, right? Like,
Yeah.
so if you're a healer, let's say, and you want to not get CC'd, you can pop Stone Form, which will let you not get CC'd for 5 seconds. Right?
And you can move around with it,
Yep.
right? Which
Yeah.
makes it a little
Stone
bit
Form
more
looks
useful
cool.
potentially than like Ice Tomb.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, well, we're excited for everybody to come out to play this. We're excited for our anniversary bash. There's so much new stuff in the game that we're really, really, really excited for everybody to come back and play.
Yeah, keep in mind, this is our first anniversary, so super exciting, but many more to come.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
All right, Greatsword. And they're going to talk about the
Hello,
expedition.
today we're going to be talking about the Greatsword. My name's David Furfai. I'm joined with Dave Hall, our lead gameplay designer, Jean-Anne Willard, our audio director, and Patrick Smedley, an AI designer. To kick it off, Dave, why don't you give us a brief overview of the Greatsword for people who haven't played it yet in PTR?
Awesome, yeah. So the Greatsword is our new two-handed weapon. It's based on strength and dex, and it is very unique for us. So we're actually going to start doing stances with this weapon. So it has 2 trees. One is called the Onslaught tree, And
This
that's
is
the,
so much fun to
attacking
play, guys.
type of stance, so it's more aggressive. You get more damage there, but you also take more damage. And the other one is the Defiance tree, which is the defensive style, which you're going to take less damage, but then deal out less damage also. And it's a really interesting new mechanic for us. And
Oh, that's a
hoping it's gonna lead to
good-looking
people being able to
Greatsword.
switch between going defensive and tanking and going on to attack modes also.
Cool. You said it was scales with strength and dex. What's the math behind that scaling?
It's 50-50 right now, and unlike the other ones that we've done. So it's a brand new for us, and it should pair nicely with a lot of different weapons.
Cool. Well,
when he says it's 50-50, he's saying that it scales evenly across the different stats, where right now on a weapon, like the sword and shield, it's strength and dex, meaning that 1 point in strength is like 0.9 and 1 point in dex is like 0.65 of the value, essentially. In the Greatsword, it's a 1-to-1, whether you're doing strength or you're doing dex.
Good segue. Thanks, Dave. Speaking of builds and theory crafting, have Patrick or anyone, have you guys thought a little bit about how you might use the Greatsword, what builds are, what you might pair it with?
Yeah, I've thought a good bit about that. So the Onslaught tree in particular, I'm really excited about for PvE content, getting in there and dealing lots and lots of damage to bosses while my healers keep me up and prevent me from dying. It can be great. And then for kind of large-scale PvP content, Outpost Rush, Wars, and other things, I'm really looking forward to a kind of stance-dancey build where I use a little bit of the Defiance tree, coupled with some of the Onslaught abilities too.
Cool. Let's talk like favorite ability, Dave. What's your favorite ability on the Greatsword?
I think it's going to be Skyward Slash right now. I just really, really enjoy that tactile feel when you hit that button at the top of the arc and come flying down with that swipe. It's just really, really fun.
You have to upgrade to get that second
that's
ability.
the first upgrade on it, I believe.
How about you, Jed?
I love the shield. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the ability.
Okay. Cool. And Patrick?
I like Crosscut. The 1, 2, 3 of these swings there, it just feels really impactful and powerful to me.
Cool. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about art. I'll talk a little bit about the art part of it. So the Greatsword is obviously the newest weapon. It was inspired a little bit by the Roman gladius, right? Because it's released with Brimstone Sand. And it was like, how would we take a gladius and turn it into a big two-handed weapon? When you see some of the concept art and the art team, that's sort of what their original inspiration was. They took inspirations from a lot of different civilizations that have two-handed greatswords. And what's great is, like, as we introduce it to the game, there's going to be drops, you know, in Ebon Scale and in Garden of Genesis, and each of these have very unique and different looks. I think it's going to be great. There's also going to be a skin that comes out with it in October also.
Oh, wow.
So the art is looking great. And what about the sound, Jed? What was some inspiration behind the sound? How did you create some of the sounds? Tell us about the soundscape of the Greatsword.
So, well, actually, this weapon was created by Tony Martinez, and it was his first weapon. But it goes back to a recording session that we did actually at HEMA, H-E-M-A. It's the Historical European Martial Arts.
Wow.
And yeah, it was pretty cool. We went there recording people fighting with real swords and shields. And it was epic. It was very dangerous and threatening. And we're like, wow, we got some great materials. And we came back to the studio, listened to those sounds, and everything sounded very thin and tiny. You know, like how, you know, ting, 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 like a lot of like slashes that feel like, you know, noisy, harsh, not really the great qualities that we're looking for. So when Tony actually took on the task of creating the new palette for the Greatsword, it looked at making it more, you know, like elusive, more less predictable and powerful. And one of the happy accidents that happened is during one of the mornings he was working on the weapon, he made coffee and he forgot to remove to put the pot underneath the coffee machine. And so those coffee drips that were like evaporating on the hot metal became one of his source of inspiration for the weapon. And it created that, you know, sensation of like, you don't want to be burned. It's dangerous. It's threatening. It's the elements that we're missing from like the HEMA recordings. And so we took those recordings, processed them, distorted them, layered them with like some reverse metal, and it created this like new out-of-the-world, you know, magical sonic tonality that we use throughout all the abilities. And it's one of the aspects that we love doing with sounds. You know, it's always trying to find the most familiar sounds, but the least predictable. We want to surprise our audience, you know, with things that they've never heard of before, but also make them feel like it's still something familiar they've listened to before. Some of the examples, for example, would be with the fire staff. No one probably, you know, realized, but we use like an A-10 bomber for like the meteor shower. It creates like these, you know, kind of sounds. We use like a rocket launch, you know, for the heavy fireball. When you hear it in the air and it's crackling through, like the sky, it's actually a rocket launch. We use like trains coupling for like the great axe spinning ability. I think it's called whirlwind. And then
remember that one. No.
that one, yeah. Just because the Greatsword is too new. But yeah, we love, trying to surprise the audience with things that, we put a sound that feels satisfying. Satisfaction for weapon when you whack, the bosses in the environment or like other players, it creates like a little dose of dopamine that makes you feel good.
Yeah, it's cool. And I think, the sound design in our game is awesome. And I love that you give just as much attention to the weapons as you do the gathering, because that's what always gets called out, right? Like, but the weapons get just as much love. Well, we have an AI designer here with us. Let's talk a little bit about like, how is the Greatsword going to handle AI combat? Anything special there? Anything you want to call out?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a lot of tanking. So it's going to be a great weapon to pair with your sword and shield. Most players use sword and shield as their primary weapon for tanking, and kind of what you're using as an offhand has changed. Some players use spear, a lot of players use great axe and warhammer. A few like myself prefer the hatchet, but the greatsword, the entire Defiance tree is really geared well towards tanking. A lot of the abilities generate passive threat on top of the taunt gem compatibility there. You have abilities like Roaring Rupture, which will taunt, and then also empower players nearby. So it's a great way to make sure that your teammates are kind of getting buffs there.
That's smart.
So it's going to really help our tank players kind of maintain control of the encounter while also supporting the other members of their party. On the other side there, you also have the Onslaught tree, which is going to deal a lot of damage. So I expect for some more melee-focused encounters, things like the Greenskeeper and Chartist, you're going to really want to keep a Greatsword in your repertoire just to deal a ton of damage to those enemies.
And Dave, when you were designing the Greatsword, was it like, I know Spear is a little more single target focused, where the Great Axe is obviously more, cleaving through people. What was sort of the theory or the goal for the Greatsword?
Yeah, the Greatsword definitely was about multiple enemies for sure, and multiple hits, and also having range. That was one of the big things with it. It's such a large object in the world, right? Like, so we wanted to make sure it could reach really far. We wanted to also keep it on the Onslaught tree, really fluid and fast. That's why we have a lot of the abilities are multi-hit abilities. They hit 3 times, 2 times, things of that nature. So I think it was about like creating a really aggressive offense. Some of the abilities will actually slow the enemy too, which will be great for PvP if you hit. And then on the defensive side, kind of like what Patrick was mentioning there, we really wanted to make sure we had another way to tank, not just sword and shield. So I think the defensive side of the tree is really going to help us with that.
Well, thanks. We're excited.
Now, before they move into the next section, Otto says that I think that this update is geared towards players coming back to the game like myself, what I haven't missed and what is new and the reasons to come back. And I actually 100% agree, Otto, namely because a couple things. They talked about horizontal, increasing the horizontal progression, adding in more content and things to do and they were holding off right now, like increasing the gear score, which I think overall is the right choice. I think that's the right choice, especially when you start to think about when things should get more powerful, and in my mind that always usually gets tailored with an expansion itself. So yeah, I'm 100% with you, Otto. I think that's what a lot of this is, but that's not bad for even players like myself who are still actively playing. But there's I'm very thankful for how it's currently structured, and then I'm looking forward to the more other systems that they're looking to add in.
Excited to see what you all do with the Greatsword. Tell us what your favorite builds and all that are. And congratulations, New World, birthday number 1. Woo!
Birthday number 1. Somebody finally touched the cake. There it is. That's all I was here for. Is like, somebody please.
Thank you for joining us once again, one last time. Let's hear it. We're going to be talking about the Ennead. So it's our brand new expedition in Brimstone Sands. And joining me for this segment once again is Rob. And then adjacent to him, I'm totally going to blank on Patrick's name, but it's Patrick. You know what's throwing me off, Patrick? This on his head. So if you didn't know, Patrick is already 6'8", and with the hat, he's now 9'10". And just to my left, TV right, is Darren. Say hello, Darren. So now, the Ennead. Let's talk about the story and its importance. We kind of touched a little bit about the giant pyramid as you entered Brimstone, but what's at the heart of this location?
Yeah, so as we mentioned, you'll see it right when you walk into Brimstone Sands. It's impossible to miss this giant pyramid partially glowing, when you walk into the zone. And that's the pyramid sits in the ancient city of Akhet, which was built by the ancient Egyptians that came here 3,000 years ago. And actually, this was concurrent with when the ancients were here. And although, we're not going to tell you everything about the ancients, but it's absolutely true that the ancients were here at the same time. They worked together with the Egyptians to build this city and this massive pyramid that houses the Ennead, which the Ennead itself is actually like the mechanism inside. It's the machine and the power that's inside of this pyramid. And yeah, the story behind it is, of course, that some years ago, so it was built originally by Imhotep along with the ancients, and then about 1,000 years ago, the Ennead was activated because the Egyptians who came a little bit later thought that there was the power of the gods they could unleash, and they unleashed it, and in fact ended up petrifying the Roman legion. And now the legacy of that is today with General Crassus and the corrupted legion, and they're still in conflict today. And he's back in there now, trying to redeem or to shut down or reacquire the power that he was that they looked for previously.
Now, with that awesome story and that backstory, that's kind of like leading to now we're designing this space. And so what are the things that you took into account with like that story and things that we've learned?
So it's not often as a level designer, right, that you get to literally go inside a giant pyramid on the mission to push the giant red button, right? Like that's the setup here. And right away, we knew that. We integrated it deeply in the level design. One of the things that I think we learned from the get-go with the Ennead Expedition was I wanted it to align with player goals on replays, because I didn't want people to get left out in the cold when they are on this territory quest, is what it actually is, right? The mechanics for getting the chests and the mechanics for turning on the giant red button initially are the same. They take you to the same corners of the dungeons. Oops, that's
$1 for the jar.
Dollar.
You know what it is, but he still owes me $1.
And this is a very meat and potatoes dungeon crawl, and that's the correct word in this context.
Yes.
There's some labyrinths which I think fits the theme very well, and also some big chambers where aggro ranges become very important. There's multiple encounters in these chambers, and they lead pretty directly into multiple bosses, and I'll let you, Patrick, talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So this is our first 3-boss dungeon, which is something we're super excited about. Like Darren said, it's kind of meat and potatoes. You're getting in there and you're constantly fighting other enemies that lead up to these bosses very quickly. So you're really getting into the action very quickly, which makes it very fun. First boss you come across is, I'm going to butcher this name, but the Godling Capri, this giant scarab. Internally, we refer to him as the Disco Beetle.
Big beetle.
Big beetle, the Disco Beetle. This guy loves lasers, so when he pops the lasers out on the dance floor, it's time to get far, far away. His arena is really big, which lends itself well to a lot of space and players kind of moving around trying to avoid his kind of chaotic lasers. A really kind of chaotic fight that's a lot of fun. Second boss, the very feared kind of General Crassus, the leader of the Roman Legion. We build up to him a little bit in Brimstone, and then you finally get to fight him and his corrupted Roman Legion, which is just super exciting. You're not only dealing with like kind of the power that he has and like the mechanics that he has, but also all the soldiers he's bringing along with him. And if you're not able to kind of maintain control of those soldiers, that fight's going to turn south really, really fast.
Yeah, there's a lot of management of the ads,
Yeah.
especially some of them get real brutal towards the end.
Oh yeah, third phase has these ogres, and those ogres will mess you up real fast if your tank is not, on it. And that leads us to our third boss, the Goliaths of the Ennead. These are two kind of ancient stone constructs come to life with ancient kind of magic to kind of defend the Ennead, and like they're the last line of defense before you get into that control console at the end there. Really tough fight. You got to kind of handle their mechanics well, but it's really important to remember that you can't kill one without killing the other. And I'll kind of leave that mechanic at that. So.
Yeah, I mean, just to call it out that the whole temple, like Darren said, is like a security system, right? Like this is this ancient power structure, and General Crassus is fighting his way through there. And I actually can't think of it off the top of my head, like how much of the dungeon is corrupt, or how much of the expedition is corrupted versus ancient.
About a third of the expedition is taken over by Crassus and his forces, and the Expedition is pretty evenly divided into 3 islands, fitting the 3 different bosses.
And then I was going to mention that, of course, that ultimately, what's this place protecting, right? Like Crassus is trying to get in there. We know there's something, and that's that red button back at the back. And we're not going to necessarily say everything about what's going on there, but suffice to say, if you achieve this, then something pretty cool can happen.
Yeah.
For you.
How many runs do you think before a player can achieve that?
It's really going to this maps directly to a quest, and the objectives for this are actually outside of the expedition, in that they're in the quest flow, not the expedition flow. And so it's a big deal for us. It's a little bit new to be tracking these individual objectives separate from the expedition flow. They should be able to do it in a run once they have the correct quest setting them up. And that's the part that I didn't want them to be getting left out in the cold, where their motivations were entirely different than players who are replaying this. And I think this expedition in general is going to have a ton of replay value. That's one of the things that we wanted to get out of it.
Yeah. So even if you haven't done all the quests leading up to it, running it'll be super rewarding. But and it's a pretty long quest line. I think there's probably 10 or 12 quests in that quest line before you get to the point where you actually go in there and challenge Crassus, and in the story actually deal with the mechanism that's inside there.
Yeah, I loved it. Like there's a definitive kind of like golden path you can take, but there's all these alcoves and different like clover leaves that can occur as you loop or double back, or you're just carving your way back onto the path. But nice open spaces, lots of named enemies, so there's always kind of something to go after. And then some of the new mechanics that I like there, with it's kind of like ancient guardian technology, these sentinels that cause different things to happen once they're alerted to your presence, where like spawns of enemies out of the walls and some other neat stuff happens with their presence.
Yeah. Starstone Burrows, just to give some background, we talked about as sort of an Ocean's 11 movie, right? Like it was a jewelry heist, which it like literally is. And this was more like assaulting a bunker to push the giant red button. Like the forces know you're coming, you're fighting your way through them, and I think it came off well in terms of that.
Yeah. Mike mentions the kind of winding hallways of the expedition. I'm going to be really interested to see how that plays out in mutations, because there's not really a one clear path forward. So how the meta develops around whether you just rush to the end and get in and out as quickly as possible, or you stop and kill every single named enemy along the way. Like, I think players are going to have a lot of fun kind of figuring out that puzzle to maximize their score.
Yeah, and you got to wonder, so all these ancient guardians in there and all these security devices, and but no one knows what happened to the ancients or where they are or what they're up to or what this device might have to do with them. But suffice to say, there would be kind of scary to think about what might happen if the ancients were to come back, or I don't know. That's not going to happen. Not anytime soon.
Well, yeah. Well, who knows? Who knows?
There might be some ancients around. I mean,
could be.
Yeah.
Lying dormant, just waiting.
Sleeping.
Could. Well, we love what you've heard about the Ennead. We can't wait for you to jump into this expedition in the PTR and when it goes live. It's going to be a fantastic anniversary release. So
yes, yeah.
Happy birthday,
I agree with you, Swan.
Here's to one awesome year. Can't wait for more to come.
Yeah, enjoy.
Woo! Well, we covered a lot today. Those deep dives in the making of segments, super informative. Thanks a lot for taking the time to do that, everybody. Before we go, we just want to give a couple quick updates. First off, the PTR is live, so if you want to check out Brimstone and our new starting experience, hop onto the forums if you need some information.
There's also there's some interesting stats we have here from the past year. There's too many to list, but we picked a couple that were just kind of interesting. There have been 6.3 billion trees felled in Eternum. It's possible that there were a few bots in there, but we did ban those, and we're going to keep working on making sure that Eternum's a clean environment for you folks to play in. There were 17.3 billion PvE kills, so you took care of a lot of the dangerous creatures in Eternum during the last year. Scott, you have a couple here that you called out?
Yeah, 12.4 billion minutes streamed on Twitch.
Wow.
Wow, that's a lot of minutes. So thank you to everyone.
For the support.
Yeah, for the support and for streaming it. We really appreciate that. Another interesting one is 327 million quests completed.
Yeah, and if you're a quester, then definitely check out PTR, definitely check out the update. You're going to find a vastly improved starting experience, and then quests that are much higher quality than the ones that we were delivering earlier as we learned, got better with your feedback. You're going to see a lot more of that in the game going forward.
Wanted to let you know we hear the feedback on Fresh Start servers. We're going to have something to talk about real soon. Beyond that, we're going to see you in October where we talk about the roadmap. Bye-bye.
Oh, the roadmap. Okay, dropping in October. Okay. All right. That finishes that off in this regards. But I see chat, and I actually echo a lot of y'all sentiments in what you're saying. Like, I think the biggest part of the first year takeaways, them talking about raids, them talking about what they've learned, and like loadouts and some of these things in a public way, I think are a big win. This obviously from here, and I can't see the whole thing, but this was more deep dives into the things that we already knew. I'm glad that they were taking time because it's, this is also the opportunity as we invite more and more people back into the game itself, into it, that this is information that hopefully helps get them excited for it. But they said that the roadmap is coming, an update on the roadmap is coming in October. And so ultimately, hopefully that doesn't mean we have to wait all that much, that long. But I'm not going to sit here and knock them all that much. Still, an hour and 22 minutes would have been better if they were like just at least dropping some dates, because yes, scheduling PTO, scheduling time off work to be able to sit down and enjoy these things would be an absolute must, an absolute blast. So 100% agree with that. Black says, should read anything into the fact that the guy on the left there at the end was wearing a Stargate shirt. So I saw that it was actually earlier talked about, and when I've been playing on the PTR, I was like, they own the rights to Stargate. Like Amazon owns MGM, which owns Stargate, and how wild of a crossover that would be. That's when I first saw one of those gates. I was like, is this a Stargate? Like, is this going to be crazy? But it is a part of that. So the news is raids. Like they said that there are raids. And that's kind of the big takeaway. They also did confirm loadouts, but we already knew loadouts were coming. But raids, I think, are significant. They talked about 10 to 20. And I hope that that also means from a UI perspective, from a party manager perspective, that opens us up to do stuff like that in the open world as well. So yeah, like not the biggest announcement. That was part of the front loading piece of it. So if you guys weren't here at the beginning and the start of this, welcome in everyone. That's gonna be up and as a part of the archive. Of course they know something, but it doesn't mean that it's approved announcement time. They do have their masters. And that could be a part of a marketing strategy. It's good that he mentioned the Fresh Start servers at the end, but they need to start getting that information out to people as soon as possible. That doesn't mean that it won't drop, this week. It does, and then if it drops in early next week, that's fine. But yeah, like if they're not going to see any kind of, share with us any kind of more details, obviously in this dev update, obviously we'll have to wait to see what kind of information they're going to share with us in the coming days. Today's Wednesday. I don't know if we were going to expect anything on Thursday or Friday news wise, but they might. It's the 1 year anniversary. It should be celebrated. The fact the game has come so far as it is, but yeah, let's see here. And played since launch. Super hyped. Yeah, I've been here since launch too. So I'm really excited to see him. Really excited to see more people return. So Justin says, I said earlier, but what do y'all think about? Would be cool if all the different faction stuff had unique mounts based within the story of the game. I think that'd be fantastic. Like anything that kind of then, but the one risk would end up being, when you start seeing people like, oh, but I really want this one as well. So as long as it does retain its uniqueness, would be sure. Let's see here. NQ Game says, really, really underwhelming for this first anniversary. No event, no drops, no dates. Very little from what we've not heard of already. Outside of the raids, I agree with that, but this is also not just for us. I still think and still hoping we see more. We also have the drop that's going on Twitch right now, and there's supposed to be some other stuff that's happening. So I'll be sure to share it as soon as I know it, for sure. Let's see here. Dr. Mock says, or they're going to wait until they can pull the trigger and talk about it. I think it's more important, like they said kind of the beginning, like make sure you got your ducks in a row. Bring Black says, I only have 465.5 hours in the game, but I could easily double that, whatever they bring back, the floating presents for the winter event. Dude, yes. And the winter conversion should be definitely on its way again. But we're also going to be getting the October event. So I would start to, based off of what I saw today, I would actually start to think on October the 18th. I would like to see them roll out the Brimstone and the new, or at least the new player experience and weapon sooner. And then you could roll out Brimstone on the 18th. So if they ended up doing that, that'd be the 4th. But if they decide to roll it all together on the 18th, that could actually work out as well. But that's gonna be a busy day. That tends to be how it is. Flup says, oh yeah, it's the 400 hours. Well, October is next week, so let's hope we get something real soon for sure. Festival of the Campfire, Jay Shalat, guys, kicking it off. Yes, today is the anniversary with the Festival of the Campfire. I really enjoyed that video, Jay, by the way. And we got to go get some. I got to go get some camps built, but I do have to actually get some things done right now. I tried to stream today, but a family needed me, so I was doing all the family stuff today. Let's see here. Making sure I'm seeing all the comments. Would have taken a Crucible received announcement at least. Oh man, it's like Crucible's coming back. That'd be wild. That was such a bad game. Crucible was such a bad game. On the other day, your 1-year anniversary, you should have something freaking significant to announce. Very poor marketing choice. Well, maybe. I mean, I agree with you that it was definitely underwhelming, but I don't know. I'm still hopeful. I'm still excited. I'm still enjoying my time in the game. I still got lots of things to do to prep and be ready for the update to go live. And the day is young. I guess maybe we'll see. Who knows? Maybe I'm just overly hopeful. All right, guys. Thank you so much for the 114 likes. Welcome into the 7 new members. We're doing the membership drive. Pushing us right now on $130 members. And so we're trying to get that up to 200. So if you guys feel like you're able to, and you like the content, and you want some additional perks here on the channel, additional content, I always want to keep that dollar open for everybody, so that way it's as accessible as possible. And then again, thank you guys. And Distorted, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs rolling out. Got 5 gifted memberships. Dadgum. Why do we have to have things called so many different things? That's gonna be it, guys. I'm gonna end the stream here. I'm gonna wish you guys all the best. It will we have to move the Force podcast, so that's not gonna be going on this afternoon. Maybe I'll just go pop over on Twitch and go and play a little bit, stream a little bit. Yes, Geek Boy taking up the challenge, putting that goal now down to nice 69. Just need 69 more dollar members to hit the goal of 200 members there. Thank you guys so much, Geek Boy, for doing that. Welcome. Enjoy your badge, your emotes, your special role in Discord. And we got some stuff going, getting ready. We got more green name tags in chat. But Force podcast, we'll schedule that for later because of the hurricane. So keep everybody out in Florida in your thoughts, and check out the Discord. Get involved in the conversation and more. Anyway, guys, thanks for being here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. Hopefully I'll see you next time. But until